These were the three new Grand Army Corps of the Empire. Together, they were a force to be reckoned with. As soon as the Emperor issued the edict, 1,130,000 troops would start military operations. At present, the Imperial Intelligence Bureau estimated the total military strength of the Western nations to be less than 1 million. Looking at it in terms of soldiers who could potentially be mobilized, the Western nations were looking at an underwhelming 400,000 if they were lucky. On top of that, since it was deemed unlikely that efforts to cooperate among the Western nations would succeed, they concluded that it was unrealistic to expect comprehensive military action from the West. Against those 400,000 disorderly soldiers, the number of Imperial elites exceeded 1 million. You could say that it was an exceedingly overwhelming military force, the core of which was the Armored Corps of Calgurio. This time, he intended to handpick the best military force to do the job. The breakdown of the 1 million soldiers to be mobilized within his corps was as follows. Augmented Legion. The main force. These were soldiers who had adopted the otherworldly technology and underwent magical modifications. Their individual combat capability was at least C+ ranked, and the elite among them even reached rank A. There were 700,000 of them, an unrivaled division. Magic Tank Division. A decisive weapon in battle. It possessed 2,000 magic tanks, a new weapon they had put into practical use. The magic tank, which was operated by 5 people, was an unprecedented war machine that revolutionized the understanding of battle. The main armament of the tanks, named Magic Gun, had an initial velocity of 2,000 meters per second. It had a 50-round capacity and could fire 5 rounds per minute. Its power was tremendous, being able to unleash destruction equivalent to tactical class super high explosive magic. Incidentally, although this was fired based on magic principles, the shell itself was a simple lump of iron. It was a formidable kinetic projectile that could easily penetrate through both anti-magic barriers and anti-archer defenses. Such tremendous power, formerly exclusive to wizards' rare elites, could now be wielded by the hands of ordinary soldiers. Beyond that, when it came to the difficulty of defending against them, the implications were endless. The number of troops, including the maintenance team, was 200,000, and the more tanks they had, the stronger they were. Air Assault Division. The highly classified weapon. They had 400 airships and were the pride of the Empire, the fruit of the otherworldly knowledge. Each craft could carry a maximum of 400 passengers. Of them, 50 were vital maintenance crew required to operate the ship, while the remaining crew would be engaged in defensive magic or gunning. It was equipped with a large number of magically enhanced guns, making it an excellent warship for both offense and defense. It was also useful as a means of transportation. In this day and age, it could be said that there was no concept of air supremacy. Since anti-aircraft precautions didn't yet exist, it was possible to transport a large number of troops while the enemy was off guard. With the use of airships, it became easy to spring a pincer move on an enemy, attacking them from both sides. This, too, was an invention that revolutionized tactical theory. The division numbered 100,000 troops, most of which belonged to the former Magic Corps. With such military might, Calgurio felt that they were unbeatable. For example, the strength of an average knight in this world, depending on the size of the country, was at most C rank. They had to be armed to the teeth, covered in armor, and trained rigorously, all that only to have a slim shot at reaching B rank. The Armored Corps, on the other hand, performed magical modifications on its members if they so desired. For those who were found to be highly compatible through medical examination, they would have to undergo semi-compulsory augmentation procedures. As a result, they had succeeded in raising the Army Corps' combat capabilities exponentially. The same applied to the various soldiers scattered across the Empire. Thus, it gave Calgurio ample reason to believe that the solid foundation of the Empire could never be shaken. In addition, he planned to spare no reserve for this great expedition, gathering all magic tanks and airships they could muster. In both quality and quantity, these soldiers would overwhelm even an alliance of all other nations. On top of that, they had a number of new weapons they were going to unveil. Calgurio held a sincere conviction that the Armored Corps was the only way they could demonstrate the might of the Empire to the world. With an army of this might, be it Veldora or a demon lord, there is nothing to fear. My army alone can conquer the world. With such confidence in heart, Calgurio observed Gadra. That was when he noticed. Gadra had fixed his eyes on Yuki for a while now, and then Yuki spoke up out of the blue. I also agreed that all Gadra is being too prudent. From my perspective, you are overly cautious of the Storm Dragon. As Commander Calgurio said, we can take care of him with the current Imperial army, don't you think? It was the first time Yuki spoke at this Imperial conference. The fact that his opinion was in line with his own made Calgurio wary. This brat, are you volunteering to conquer the Labyrinth? You think I wouldn't notice? You're so naive. It is of utmost importance to be well informed if you ever want to assume the important role of a commander. Even while having this thought, Calgurio smiled graciously toward Yuki. There was one exception, namely Gladium, but that was only because of his extraordinary strength propelling him to where he was. Calgurio had always regarded Yuki as an adversary, insisting that it was still too early for him to be a corps commander. Concealing his inner feelings, Calgurio began spinning his rhetoric. Amazing, Yuki Dono. Indeed, an up-and-coming young man such as yourself has exceptional vigor. Well, I still have a long way to go. More importantly, in my opinion, even if we are going to war, we still need to investigate, don't we? To get out of the Great Jura Forest, we need to pass through the dominion of Demon Lord Rimuru. And by the way, I heard an interesting story about how this capital of the Demon Lord can escape, buildings and all, into the Labyrinth. Oh, a labyrinth. Calgurio wondered, feigning ignorance. Yeah, Yuki said, please to elaborate. To be precise, a dungeon. I don't know what the reason is, but allegedly the capital city could vanish from the face of the earth, leaving nothing but a very large gate above ground. Humph, how foolish. I suppose you're going to offer to investigate the labyrinth and then steal the authorization to conquer it, but that would be mighty presumptuous. Calgurio chuckled to himself. Ha, are you sure that information is correct? Someone asked, followed by several others. If what you said is true, then we can't ignore the dungeon. They might attack from the rear, after the army passes through. You're right. If the West isn't stupid, they probably fortified a defensive line. If our supply chain were to be cut off by the Demon Lord's army, our troops would be in a bind. Then, passing the Great Jura Forest will be dangerous. Those who heard Yuki's remarks began to express their opinions freely. Yuki also looked cheerful, probably because it was just what he wished. There's no doubt about the credibility of the information Yuki affirmed, having waited for the right moment. After all Gadra went to the labyrinth himself and looked into the matter for us. It was because old Master Gadra saw Demon Lord Rimuru with his own eyes that he deemed him to be a threat. Also, he caught wind of a rumor during his stay. It has been claimed that the labyrinth spans up to 100 floors underground, and that the guardian of the 100th floor is none other than the storm dragon Veldora himself. It was a baseless rumor. However, the investigation was interrupted due to casualties in the 60th underground level. It is said that even the hero Masayuki had not yet conquered that level, so it seems that said level is equivalent to A+ in terms of difficulty. Regardless of which route we'll take to attack the West, investigation is essential, he concluded, setting aside his usual aloof attitude and assuming a serious tone. The casualties are. That's regrettable to hear. I understand your sentiment, Yuki Dono. Conducting an investigation should be trivial. Why don't we leave this to the mixed corps? Hearing the nobles chime in like that began to make Calgurio's blood boil. Tis, bribed imbeciles. Yuki, you shrewd bastard. You should have become a politician, not a corps commander. Even those who were not paid off seemed to agree with Yuki's sincere attitude. This provoked Calgurio, making him raise his voice. Please wait, he shouted, as he rose from his seat. Then, he bowed once to the Emperor beyond the bamboo blind. Your Imperial Majesty. Master Gadra and Yuki Dono appear to be deathly afraid of Veldora, but I am not. Needless to say, that applies to the West as a whole. It is my desire to give your Imperial Majesty peace of mind, so by all means, order my humble self to dominate. Then I, Calgurio, will risk my life to deliver. Calgurio's speech to the Emperor shocked everyone in the room. Speaking directly to the Emperor was a woefully imperious thing to attempt. What the? How dare you do such an outrageous thing? You know that's unforgivable, Calgurio Dono. Calgurio, are you stealing a march from me? Your Imperial Majesty, my Magic Beast Corps is also ready to go into battle at any time. By all means, order us to go into battle as well. At this point, even Gladium presented his corps. As if in panic, Yuki followed up. Then, please entrust the investigation to the mixed corps. As Yuki stood up, the three commanders bowed together. Now that it had come to this, only the Emperor could suppress the situation. No. There was one other person. She stood up on the other side of the bamboo blind, and laughed charmingly. The supreme commander of the Imperial army, the Marshal. Be quiet, fools. You are in the presence of Rudder-sama. To address the Emperor by his name was a reckless action that no ordinary person would ever be allowed to commit. And here the one who calmly did just that was the one person who was awarded the rank of Marshal. In the Empire, the word Marshal was synonymous with the strongest. Only a handful of her associates knew who she really was. Her name remained unknown to the public, and it was said that she always stayed by the Emperor's side to protect him. At the word of someone carrying that lofty rank, the room fell silent once more. As they prostrated themselves all at once, a voice rang out from above. What is it with Veldora? He interrupted our last great expedition, but did it shake the Empire? No, ma'am. Of course, for this Empire carries the blessing of His Great Majesty. Yes, ma'am. An atmosphere, which while not overpowering, was something no one could defy, dominated the room. Yuki, was it? The Marshal asked. You've been in the Empire less than a year, but your achievements are impressive. However, you are cowardly. Too cowardly. Do you know why the Empire has not made a move since Veldora's resurrection? It's because we were not ready. Yuki, confused why this was brought up out of the blue, tentatively gave her a safe answer. The Marshal, however, laughed scornfully. Wrong. It's because of the fools who are trapped by their fear of the past, giving all sorts of reasons just to escape. Isn't that right, Gadra? Yes, ma'am. Deep down, everyone knew that was true. And even Gadra couldn't deny it. It was true that he did not discuss whether or not they could win against the Storm Dragon, and carried on being adamant about avoidance. He had no room to object. But what's the matter with her? Why is she so impatient now? Gadra was one of the few people that knew the Marshal's true face. That's why he felt that the Marshal, who had always remained aloof, was somewhat impatient. But he could not question that here. Without knowing why, a vague sense of unease had crept upon him. The Marshal continued pressing questions. Don't you think it is highly unlikely that negotiating with Dwarf King Gazel would go smoothly? I don't think you do not understand that, so why are you insisting? Or were you more stupid than I thought? Perhaps, don't tell me you are trying to impede the Empire's supremacy. The cold voice sent a chill down Gadra's spine. Has she caught on to me? It's incredible, Gadra thought. He has served the Empire for a long time, even once as an advisor to the Emperor himself. Despite that, Gadra cowered in front of the Marshal. Come to think of it, I don't even know her name. Gadra was trusted and most certainly invaluable, but that might have been nothing more than his own delusion. The realization hit him like a ton of bricks. And for the first time, he started to doubt what the Empire, or rather, who the Emperor, really was.